Hey everybody, it's Mike Meyers here for our Friday edition of the Ask Mike Anything here at Total Seminars. So the entire reason we're doing this is that we're giving those of us who are isolated because of coronavirus and who are studying for CompTIA certifications an opportunity to talk about different topics on anything from IT fundamentals through Security Plus. In fact, we can go past that if you really need to, but we tend to concentrate in that area. So first of all, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you guys showing up. Looks like we have some of the usual suspects here. We also have a VIP here, kids, just so you know. Is it one of the partners of Total Seminars, Ms. Robin Mulford, also known as my big sister Robin, is online today. So give a shout out. She's Kay Lemur. I don't know how that works, but whatever. Anyway, first of all, I want to get, Robin, I knew you were showing up, so I want to let you see. I am wearing the Taylor Oaks RV Park. Taylor Oaks RV Park in Rockport, Texas. One of the best little RV parks you ever saw. Anyway, it's actually a fun place. This is not a paid endorsement. It's actually my big sister and her husband Al Mulford's place, and I love going there. And if there's any of you folks from Taylor Oaks on here, I'm still willing to do that class, assuming that you guys buy the beer. So anyway, I just want to give a quick shout out to you guys and just to say hello. So first of all, if anybody on here right now, just because you are so kind to show up to this stream, if you look down below here, we're giving 50% off all of the Total Seminars practice questions as well as our simulations. So you use the code that you see right there, and when you buy them, and you get everything half off, which is a crazy great deal. Also, if you are an instructor of a CompTIA course, and if you have an active class that has been disrupted because of coronavirus, we here at Total Seminars are giving it all away. I mean, we're literally giving it all away. And we're prepared to give you videos and practice questions and simulations and back rubs and, okay, maybe not the back rubs, but pretty much anything else that you need to help you get through this coronavirus pandemic. Not only that, in certain circumstances, and I don't want to get people too excited because it's a bit of a hoop to jump through, but we're even prepared to give away free ebooks courtesy of McGraw-Hill. It's a little bit tricky to do that, but in order to even check any of this stuff out, all you have to do is contact Kathy Yale from my office. Scott Jernigan, my buddy, will type that in for us, and all you have to do is contact her. And by the way, don't try to be clever, okay? So you clever people are like, oh, I'll pretend to be an instructor. Forget it. Kathy Yale is a Youper. You know what a Youper is? She's from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and she's a tough cookie, and she's very, very smart. So you're not going to be able to pull that off. In fact, go ahead and try because it will entertain her. But yeah, anyway, so that's the bottom line. All right, so first of all, today is the big giveaway day. I don't know what I'm giving away yet, but it's going to be good. And I might even do more than one giveaway. In fact, I guarantee it. I'm going to do more than one giveaway today. So about 10 minutes before 3 o'clock, we'll stop whatever we're doing, and we'll be giving away books, and we'll be giving away free dance lessons. No? Okay. Then we'll probably do another thinkgeek.com, pardon me, GameStop.com gift certificate. I know that's easy, especially for you folks overseas. And even if you're in India or South Africa, I want you guys to be able to participate happily in our competition. So anyway, it's Giveaway Friday. I'm very excited about that, and I hope you guys are too. And as always, we've got a million. Leanna Jensen, my niece, is on here. We got family on here. This is hilarious. All right, so let me scroll through a little bit. Yes, I know we're going to be finishing up on, what were we doing yesterday? I'm kidding. We're going to go ahead and finish up on, well, now I'm not kidding. I've made a wonderful PowerPoint presentation on RAID. There we go. Don't grow old, kids. Die young and leave a good corpse. Anyway, so we're going to be doing, we'll be finished up on RAID. I got a nice little presentation on RAID. We're going to be concentrating more, since yesterday we really did all the different RAID levels and got that down. Today we're going to be really talking about software versus hardware RAID. And also, if you're an instructor, I've got some fun tools, and you don't have to be an instructor, you can just be a standalone learner as well. but some really cool ways for you to be able to practice RAID without having a bunch of hard drives. So I'm looking forward to showing you all that stuff as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see who's on here today. Yeah, it is the usual crowd here pretty much. No early questions. All right. Well, we don't have to have early questions. I can dive right in. Yeah, I like this. This is my Taylor Oaks RV Park cap. Rockport, Texas is kind of a special place, man. It's very easygoing, very salty, and I don't mean salty in the way you guys think. I mean like covered in salt from the ocean kind of place, and it's a lot of fun. I love to get away and drop a rod in the water, catch some specks. Although usually when I'm down in Rockport, I end up catching catfish, which we call hardheads, which is a junk fish. Joe Sosa, did you like my 10 Commandments? I love that one. We got to get someone, H. Nardoli from Buenos Aires, man. Welcome aboard, brother. Yes, thank you, Jimmy. I don't know why, I just brain snapped right there. All right, so Scott Hockhauser. Hi, Mike. Where can I find a cheap laptop with Windows 10, using it to practice PBQ on does not have to me new? Yeah, it's definitely not going to be new. So the place I tend to get laptops more than anything else is I'm going to go to Dell's Refurb. So just do a Google search for Dell Refurbished. They have ridiculous deals on good systems. The only problem is you have to buy the systems that are on sale that day. So if you don't see something you like, or if you don't see a price you like, well, don't buy that day. Just go back tomorrow. They'll have a new price list, new bunch of stuff, and you can usually get about at least 20% off retail, although it's usually more like 50% off. Scratch and dent kind of stuff, amazing deals like that. The other place you can get great deals, and no one's going to like hearing this, but it is a great place to get great deals, is from Craigslist. Craigslist has a bunch of people who have laptops that they don't know what they are. And because we know the difference between a first generation i7 and a third generation i7, and DDR2 versus DDR4, and rotational media versus SSDs, that kind of a thing, you can find yourself on Craigslist getting outrageous deals. You have to march around a little bit, end up going to coffee shops to meet somebody for a laptop, but you can get some great deals there. And don't be afraid to negotiate prices. Most of the time people have no clue what they have anyway, and they usually throw out artificially high prices or artificially low prices, and in either case, I'm going to negotiate the price to get it to where I want. And you can get some great deals. I do believe in Craigslist. The downside to Craigslist, and this is a big downside, is that they could be stolen. And so what you do is you look on the bottom, especially if it's Dell equipment. It's not just Dell, Acer does this as well. Look for the service tag. And you can literally call the service tag in on their 800 numbers right there, and you can tell whether they're stolen or not. So, yeah, a little bit of a gray area, but you were looking for cheap. If you don't want to go through all that hassle, Dell Refurbished is a great place. I've also heard that swappa.com, SWAPPA.com, which is a place I always buy all my phones because there's great deals there, is also offering laptops. I have not looked, though, so I can't guarantee that particular thing. All right. Yes, the Soaring Eagle. We're doing GameStop gift cards today. There'll be $25 gift cards. Tolowit, are people doing RAID setups declining due to the prevalence of cloud backups? No, not even a little bit. Don't confuse RAID with a backup. RAID is a redundancy function, but it's not a backup. If you do a cloud backup, and there's nothing wrong with that, and you go down, I mean down hard, like you start losing a server, the amount of time necessary to restore from a cloud backup is obnoxious. It can take literally days, if not in some cases weeks, depending on how fast your connection is, to do restoration. So we don't want to do that. So what we do is we do RAID, and on the occasional time I lose a drive on a RAID 5 or I lose a couple of drives on a RAID 6, I can restore those and keep going. We've really looked at cloud backup at Total Seminars, and we've decided really not to do it. Even with a pretty good cable modem connection, a commercial grade connection, the amount of time for backup or restoration is so obnoxious that it's like not really worth it. If we were more of an enterprise, perhaps I'd have a different attitude about that, but no. Cloud backup in no way slows down adoption of RAID. It's more popular now than ever. In fact, you're going to be seeing some of the RAID we do here at Total Seminars here very, very shortly. Hard H. Narduli, can you explain M.2 versus SATA? Sure, they're totally different things, man. M.2 is a physical type of connection that has been adopted primarily for SSDs. I'm sorry I don't have a picture here in front of me, but so an M.2 is a physical connection. SATA is a serial ATA, AT attachment, serial advanced technology attachment. There, Scott Jernigan, you happy with that? So SATA is both a type of connection and as well as a protocol for data configuration between a hard drive controller and a drive itself. So it's a very different animal. Now, what you might be trying to say is, what is NVMe? N as in Nancy, V as in Victor, M as in Mary, lowercase e. So NVMe is just a methodology where we get rid of the SATA layer when we're talking to hard drives and basically use a PCIe direct connection via M.2 to talk to an SSD directly, and it speeds things up quite a bit. So that really becomes an issue when people are buying SSDs. They're buying an M.2 SSD. Samsung does a real good job with this. You can literally see, if you watch my videos, I have a great video on this, by the way, and you'll see two identical boxes of two identical SSDs, and one's going to say SATA on the bottom, and the other one's going to say NVMe. And it makes a very big difference in terms of performance, not really price, but performance in terms of what you're getting. So M.2 is a physical connector. You plug in SSDs into an M.2 connector. There are both SATA drives that plug into the M.2, and there are also NVMe that plug into that. You will plug in the fastest one that your system can handle. Not all motherboards support NVMe. Yeah, most of them do, but I'm sure there's one out there, and if I don't put in that caveat, someone's going to go, Mike Meyers did a terrible job, and I bought an NVMe and it didn't work. So, check the stats and specs for your particular motherboard, verify that it is NVMe, then always buy NVMe. And if by some chance it doesn't, then you buy a SATA. It'll work. How's that for easy? All right. Giles Sosa, I want to know the difference between a VM versus a container. I'll tell you what, we are already 15 minutes into this. Scott Jernigan, please help me remember to answer Giles' question on VM versus container. And hey, Steve G. But let's go ahead and finish up on RAID, and then we can dive into the other stuff. So let's go ahead and get started on RAID right now. Oh, I miss my directors in times like this. I know you poor guys are watching me click on things, trying to figure out where I am. There we go. Okay. So remember yesterday we talked about different RAID levels. Today what I want to talk about is hardware versus software RAID and what that really means for us. So the first thing when we talk about hardware versus software RAID is that we need to understand what does that really mean, okay? So, I'm working on it, kids. There we go. Okay, whoops, too fast. Okay, so a hardware RAID is any RAID where the RAID duties are handled by a dedicated RAID controller, a physical chip that does the RAID work. RAID arrays Remember RAID arrays from yesterday? A RAID array will manifest as a single drive to the operating system. So when you do a hardware RAID, Windows or Linux or whatever you're using, they don't see all the physical drives. They just see the result, and it looks like one big drive to them. And in hardware RAID, there's usually a separate configuration utility, and in most systems, especially in a Windows type environment, it's going to be at a BIOS level. Now, software RAID is that all the RAID duties are handled by the operating system using just drives that are connected to the regular SATA ports or whatever you might be having on your system. The OS sees all the individual drives, and the OS builds the array via utilities at the operating system level. So we're going to go through both of these so you can actually see this in action. So when we're talking about hardware RAID, you've got two choices. First, you have what I call RAID on a chip. So what we're looking at here is a Intel X299, which is a very, very popular chipset right now. And on this physical chip, there is an interconnection. If you look here, it says Intel Rapid Storage Technology with RAID. So what's taking place is right there, you have RAID on a chip that allows us to do hardware RAID. The problem with this type of hardware RAID is it tends to be very, very simplistic. So the Intel Rapid Storage Technology, which has been around for more than 10 years now, gives us the ability to have RAID on our desktop systems. You usually do RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, and then RAID 10 for some reason. RAID 10 is very popular, and it works great. There's a couple of small challenges, though, which we'll talk about here in just a sec. All right, so when we talk about hardware RAID on a chip, the first thing you end up doing is that you're going to have to, did I miss one there? I guess I didn't. You end up turning on RAID within your system setup. And once you turn it on, you'll see as part of your boot process something like this. You see where it says press Control-I to enter the configuration utility? What you're doing is you're entering a special configuration utility, which is just for the Intel RAID on a chip, okay? Actually, I had these out of order. Here's the first one, so you turn this on. Now, I need you guys to look at this. This is a little dated, but it was all I could find on short notice, all right? Ignore this part. What's more important is right here. You see where it says RAID? This is a big deal. If you want to use Intel Rapid Storage Technology, yeah, back then it was called Matrix. I know it's an old graphic. I'm sorry. It still works the same way. You usually have to make a choice on the initial system build, where you do with, you have a choice between AHCI, oh Scott, Advanced Host Control Interface, I guess, who cares? AHCI, or you pick RAID. And what will happen, and the different motherboards have some subtlety here. Like some motherboards, they'll have a couple of dedicated AHCI SATA ports, and then the other ones, there'll be other ones that if you set this to RAID, the other 6 ports, boom, turn into RAID ports. And that's great, but you have to make a decision when you first do this because, for example, if you set it to AHCI and you plug in a single hard drive, everything's working great, and then one day you go, oh, I want to play with RAID, you've just lost that drive. Well, you haven't lost it. You can set it back to HCI and get it back, but you're going to have to get more drives. So you want to be real, real careful with this particular tool. And again, there are subtleties in different motherboards where there are situations where you can have one bootable AHCI drive and then all the rest of your SATA ports can be RAID. So it's really a case-by-case basis based on the motherboard that you're interested in. Okay, so again, now here we are in this kind of like system CMOS kind of setup. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the process and create a volume. They see that there's 37 gigabytes of drives there. And so we're going to set up a RAID 1 mirror. This has all been chosen by us as part of this menu. So it sees a couple of drives here. These are a couple of really small SSDs, like tiny SSDs. And what we're going to do is turn these 2 drives into a RAID 1 array. And we go through the process and we select them. they become member disks, and now we have 37 and 37, but remember, because it's mirror, we only get half the size, right? Does that make sense? And we've now made, we give it our own volume name. We call it whatever we want. OS boot drive, RAID 1 mirror, 37 gigs. And my friend, you have made yourself a hardware RAID system. Now, the other way to do hardware RAID is through a dedicated controller card. Now, a dedicated controller card can be something small and simple like this guy that only has 3 connections. I know this particular type of card. It can do RAID 0, RAID 1, and RAID 5, and that's it. This is a very low-end card. You can even see that the PCIe connection looks like a 2X right there. But now, if you want to get a little bit hairier, then you can start going to these more advanced dedicated controller cards. So this thing can accept, I believe, 8 different internal cards, and then through these external connectors, you can do really cool stuff, like, for example, plug into big arrays of drives and through a specialized connection. So underneath here, there'd be a server box running that card, and then it would plug into this big box itself. So when you're configuring hardware RAID, now we're not talking system on a chip here. Now we're talking more like enterprise level. Most of the time, there's going to be some method where you're using either a utility or even a web browser to access the tools for this. Now, this is actually on one of our Dell servers that we're running different types of RAID. Problem is this text is so small. See if I can bring that up a little bit and zoom in. Okay, here we go. That's a little bit easier to read, right? So we have an OS boot array that's configured for RAID 1. It's only 148 gigs. It's just Windows. It doesn't need much more than that. And then we have 2 different arrays called shares and shares 2, which are running RAID 6. And so you can see that that baby is 4 terabytes on that one. And then the array below it is 1.4 terabytes. And these are general purpose arrays that we use for all kinds of stuff. Now, what's important is that software RAID is out there, and you got to be really careful. Like what you're looking at here is a piece of free software called FreeNAS. So what we're talking about here is we've got a little box that it's been around forever, and we still use it from time to time, called a NAS, Network Attached Storage. It's just a PC. It's got a bunch of hard drives in it, and it's running Linux. I don't remember what version of Linux it's running. Knowing Michael Smyer, it's not Ubuntu. Might even have its own distro. I don't even remember. Anyway, the bottom line is that FreeNAS is just software RAID. It's just software RAID. Maybe a little bit more than software RAID, but it's still software RAID. And you start looking at this, you got this dedicated box, and if you wouldn't look at the box, I mean, it's not a very pretty box, okay? It's a gray box with a bunch of SATA drives in it. Like I said, it's not pretty, but it works great, and we use it for all kinds of stuff. Now, what's interesting is that this is completely software RAID because everything is handled through the operating system itself. So you can actually go down there and you can see, if we look on this guy, you can see, is this not supposed to, there it goes. Oy, much better. Okay, so you can see that we've got an array called RAID Z1, and these are the individual drives. That is Linux nomenclature for the individual drives themselves. That's pretty recent. Cool. Okay, so, oh, doggone it. Let's do that again. I just realized I didn't show you the pictures. I'm going through all this, and you guys aren't seeing anything. Sorry. Okay, one more time. Here we go. So this is FreeNAS. This is the interface for FreeNAS. It's basically a web type interface. And we can go in here. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. So I have a choice. Either I can watch the screens or watch you all complain to me. I can't do both at the same time. So this is the array that's in there called RAID Z1. And see, we can see the individual drives because this is a software-based RAID. Whew, okay, there we go. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is proprietary RAID. Now, let's take a moment and talk about that. Okay, so we know about RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 1 plus 0, RAID 0 plus 1, but there are other RAIDs out there. And these other RAIDs are really, well, they're proprietary. Like one of the things I had brought up yesterday was you really want your drives to be the exact same size. Let's say you want to do a RAID 5 and you have 3 1 terabyte drives. Well, no, let's make that harder. We have 2 1 terabytes and 1 2 terabyte drive. Got that? So we got 3 drives. 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes. If you create an array using classic RAID 5, that 2 terabyte drive becomes a 1 terabyte drive. That's just how RAID works. So you're wasting half of the drive. It has no function. With proprietary RAID solutions, that seems to disappear. But do keep in mind they're proprietary, which means they're not going to tell us how they work. So enjoy the benefits, but you're not going to learn how they work exactly. So let's go ahead and look at one example of proprietary RAID, which is Synology. All right, so this is the interface for a Synology box. Let me zoom that in because it's way too small. All right, so if you take a look at this, we have a 47 terabyte capacity on this particular array. But look up here. It says Synology Hybrid RAID SHR, that's their term for it, with data protection for 2 drive fault tolerance. They have to tell you all this because this is not RAID 6. It looks like RAID 6, right? 2 drives, but it's not RAID 6. It's Synology's Hybrid RAID. When they say hybrid, they're simply saying that it's both hardware and software RAID to some extent. All of this interface is just software, interestingly enough. So if you take a look in here, we can actually see all the individual drives that make up this 47 terabyte array. But what I really want you to pay attention to is look here. So these are 7 terabyte drives, and then here's some 3.6s. Do you see that? That's kind of the beauty of these proprietary RAIDs, is that through elven magic that they don't want to share with us, they're able to use all of the drives, even if the drives are different sized. Kind of cool. I like it. I wish they would tell us how it worked. Synology probably does someplace, but I start to lose interest after a while. So. All right. So the other type of proprietary RAID I want to talk about is storage spaces. So let's do storage spaces. Storage spaces is the Windows. There we go. So storage spaces is the Windows 10 way to do RAID. So let's go ahead and dive up here, and I want to jump in. I got a Windows 10 system ready to rock and roll right here. So let's take a quick peek at that, and let's see what happens. All right, so here's just a typical Windows 10 machine. Oh, wait a minute, before I get into that. So this is, I'm just using virtual PC here, okay? And so I got a copy of Windows 10, and I'm sorry, virtual PC. Boy, did I Freudian out on that one. I'm running Oracle VirtualBox, which if you're going to be learning A+ or Net+, and to a smaller extent Security+, you really should have this. I'm not against other tools like Hyper-V and things, or Parallels, or whatever it's called in Mac these days, but I can tell you, especially if you're an instructor, this is a completely free tool that works beautifully, okay? So the only thing I downloaded some evaluation versions of Windows 10 because I didn't want to pay any money to do that either. So yeah, we should probably do a virtualization class. But anyway, the bottom line is if you use this tool, VirtualBox allows you to create extra hard drives. They're virtual hard drives. Just make a bunch and you can start doing cool stuff with it. A lot of people get a little paranoid when they want to start learning about RAID. They're like, well, I'm going to have to buy a bunch of drives. And Mike's warning me about this HRCI versus RAID setting and the BIOS and da-da-da. You don't have to do any of that. Just get your copy of VirtualBox. Get yourself an installable copy of Windows 10. Even if you still have like your old Windows 10 thumb drive. Where'd mine go? I had one laying around here. Just had it. Where'd it go? Oh well, not here. You can install it, just not activate it, and you can then go ahead and go through the process and practice doing RAID. All right, so we've got that done. If you guys are interested in having a virtualization class, it's going to be with VirtualBox. But let Scott and me know we could do that as well. Anyway, so let's watch this in action. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go into good old Device Manager. All right. Sorry, how about disk management? Good thing I'm cute. Why, yes, I did practice these, guys. Now, let's give disk management a moment to load. All right, so it found a drive. So, okay, so first of all, take a look at this. So here's my C drive in the virtual machine. It's running Windows, okay? But what I've done is through VirtualBox, I can scroll this down so you guys can really see it. And I went ahead and installed 3 virtual hard drives of 100 gigs each, and then I installed one for 50. This actually gives us some interesting opportunities here, because even if you just want to do a disk management practice, using a virtual machine can often be a great way to do it. So I can right-click on here, new simple volume, new span volume. I don't want to do that stuff right now, but look, here's a striped volume, then here's a mirrored volume, and then grayed out is RAID 5 volume. For reasons that make absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, Microsoft just grays out RAID 5. I don't think it even shows up on Windows Home. It just totally grays it out, and the answer is, well, if you want to do that, you have to buy a copy of server. Okay, whatever. So you can do, and this is the kind of question to expect on like the A+. So with Windows 10, the regular workstation, I can do RAID 0, right? It said striped. I can do RAID 1, right? It said mirrored, but I can't do RAID 5, okay? Unless I have a server version. So that's okay. Technically, you can. So what we're going to do, though, is we're not going to do it through disk management. We're going to bring up storage spaces. Storage spaces is a wonderful, wonderful tool that allows us to do pretty much all the RAID we'd want to do. I guess if I wanted to set up a quick and dirty mirrored volume, I might still go to disk management. But other than that, if I need to do any kind of RAID-y kind of thing at all, I'm going straight to storage spaces. So let's go ahead and fire up storage spaces and watch it do its magic. All right, so I just fired up storage spaces, and right now I don't have anything in there, so it's going to say create a new pool and storage space. So I'm going to hit yes on that. All right, so these are the same 4 drives that we just saw in disk management. 3 100 gig drives and 1 50. For some reason, the 50 is in a different location, whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the 50 for a minute, and then I'm going to create a pool. Now, storage spaces is pretty smart. If you select 2 identical drives, the only choices it's going to give you is like RAID 0 or RAID 1. If you select 3 drives, the choices it's going to give you are primarily going to be RAID 5 more than anything else. And then if you pick more than that, you get other options. The problem is they don't say it in a clever and easy way. So let's go back and take a look at this. All right, man, I hope you guys can see this. I'm going to actually check what people are saying. All right, so no one's saying that they can't read the screen, so I'm going to just keep going. Okay, great. All right, so you're making an array here, guys. So you give it some name. Obviously, it's going to have a drive letter at some point in the file system. And here is their weird way of saying stuff, okay? So you have a simple, which is no resiliency. That's actually RAID 0. You have a 2-way mirror, which is a classic mirror. You have a 3-way mirror, which, wait a minute, I'm going blank for a moment. A 2-way mirror writes 2 copies. Yeah, so that's a regular 2-way mirror, 3-way mirror. 3-way mirror writes 3 copies. So what they're saying here is it sees that there are 3 drives and it wants to make a mirror copy on all 3 drives. Weird. And then parity is basically as close to RAID 5 as you could get. It's RAID 5. So that's kind of interesting and makes sense once you see it. But I want to do something. I'm going to cancel this and I want to go back and I'm going to add that 4th drive and we're going to see something new appear. Give me a moment to delete this. I'm not doing anything interesting. I'm just deleting the pool. All right, let's go back and let's do it all over again from the top. So here we are at create a new pool. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm just going to say yes. Now this time I'm going to select all 4 of them. You see that? All right, even the 50 gigabyte, which is a different size. So we're going to select create the pool. And if I've done this right, Mike is making a small mistake that he can't quickly remember. Had this been an actual demonstration that Mike has already practiced like 3 times, and for some reason it chooses not to work right now, we would actually see a parity where we could lose 2 drives. What we're looking at there is the Microsoft's proprietary RAID 6-like kind of thing. And I just did this twice, practicing for you guys, and now it doesn't work. So, you know, had this been an actual demonstration, look, I'm doing it through interpretive dance. So, sorry about that. Okay, so that's the bottom line, is that proprietary types of RAID go usually beyond RAID 6. And the biggest thing to remember about them, especially for the exam, is that we can use different size drives and they use them far more efficiently than what we'd be doing if we used a more classic RAID 5 or RAID 6. Huh. Hey, you know, not too bad considering. I got to tell you, first of all, I got to shout out to Dave Rush and the video production people and all the people at Total Seminars whose only job is to make me look really, really good in videos, because having to do all this stuff by myself and then you guys get to watch me witness making myself look a little silly, I really, really appreciate you guys so much. So one day this virus will end and we'll all be back to normal, but not anytime soon, it looks like. Okay, so anyway, so that's the important stuff, at least in terms of RAID, that you need to be aware of. So let's see what we got here. Well, you guys better ask some questions, because I have no issue having a short day if we're not. Roberto Abarca Hernandez, why is he talking about RAIDs? Is the Q&A specific? No, Roberto, you can talk about anything you want, my friend. It's just that we had started talking about RAID yesterday. A lot of people had said they wanted to talk about it, so I brought it up. The Q&A is not specific. Feel free to say anything you want, man. I just wanted to make sure we had that all covered. Homer 1075, how would a RAID array come into play with a NetApp device? Or are you more looking at SAN at that point? I'm not really sure what NetApp is, so I don't know what NetApp is. Sorry. Mike, yesterday I asked about AWS for the single user, and you said it was great to practice with. What products in particular would you be good to experiment with? You probably want to start with S3, which is the actual infrastructure as a service. And sorry, incoming information. Really, I would start with S3. That's probably the biggest point, where you can actually spin up an actual system and you'll be given a public IP address and you can access it, and I don't know, throw a web server on there that does a hello world and just be able to say, wow, that really works. Was probably the biggest place to start. You have to be a little careful though with AWS, is that as you start adding and playing with more features, they will begin to charge you. They will not be sneaky about charging you. It'll be very clear that you're going from zero to money, but especially if you get in a hurry and start going to clickety-click, you need to be aware that that can be an issue. Poop. That's really your name? Poop? Okay. There's Tolowit helping me out there. Yeah, talk about anything you want, man. Okay, would love a virtualization class to set up a web server. We're going to do, all right, we'll probably, not next, I don't know, we'll see. We'll probably do it, we will do virtualization. Keep in mind, Monday is going to be why Mike uses Firefox and all the wacky different types of add-ons that I use on it and why. So we'll definitely do that. We can do a Docker. Well, yeah, Homer, we can Docker versus VM. Maybe we could just do like a container versus a virtual machine first. I'm not super fantastic at Docker. Man, we gotta get like Michael Smyer in here, who's our resident genius too. Remote desktop. Scott, are you writing down these things people want to talk about? So, just scrolling through, guys. I want to see if I'm catching all the questions. Giles Sosa, how do we choose the right RAID dedicated controller card? I'm looking at prices from $60 to $900. How do we choose? Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff you need to consider about that. First of all, is a card the right way? I mean, are you talking about just something for your house? I would doubt that anybody could come up with a RAID situation in their home where software RAID, or like we were doing with storage spaces there, or using like FreeNAS or something like that, wouldn't work perfectly fine, where you don't need any of that. I mean, you really have to talk about working a system pretty hard to motivate to actually go out and buy specialized hardware. From there, a lot of times you're looking more at the feature sets more than anything else. You know, at an enterprise level, nobody really cares about 60 or 900 bucks, right? You'd have to put a couple of zeros on the end before you'd have to get accounting people excited. So now we're talking about, you know, we're having a proprietary solution. Do you want hot swappability? So do you want a box with those little trays that you can yank in and out? You know, do you want hot spares? How do you want to be communicated with? Are you looking to make more than one array? Do you have some sense of how big of an array you need? Okay, there you go. That's really the big question. How big of an array do you need? At Total Seminars, especially when we started getting into video production, our array needs went through the roof. And I mean, you guys had some sense, you know, of how big some of our arrays are. That's just because that's what we needed. And, you know, Michael Smyer did a great job organizing this. And so we'd sit there and go, well, we need two 74 terabyte arrays. You know, one for the videos that we're currently selling, another one for video production, videos that we're making, kind of a thing. And where did he get that number? He guessed. Basically, he took the size of our regular video production, saw how much we have on average, and then doubled it. And that's where those numbers came from. So that's going to be a real big part, because the box where you put the hard drives in is, in my opinion, often as important as the RAID controller itself. Hot swappability is a wonderful convenience. You know, people take a look at the Intel rapid storage technology, and you set up a little RAID 5 array. Unless you do something very specific, you won't know if a drive goes dead. On the Synology boxes, shoot, we'll get a phone call if we need it to let us know something's gone wrong, automatic rebuild of arrays, stuff like that. So I wouldn't be looking at just the card. I'd be looking at the whole solution and first decide what your needs are. Obina Nwoki from Manhattan. Man, hope you guys are doing okay out there. Obina, I hope you've talked to Kathy Yale, man. We're giving stuff away for you active instructors. So this is for you, mon frere. I wish I knew what a NetApp device is. You like my hat, Darren's Tech? Good. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we're doing virtualization next week for sure sometime. Monday is going to be, yeah, I don't spell at all. That's why I have Scott Jernigan around to keep me. Monday is definitely going to be why Mike loves Firefox and the add-ons that he uses, because he's a security nut and I'm paranoid. But during the week, we'll definitely do like a 10,000 foot level on containers versus VMs, and then maybe we could drill down on a Docker. I am not good at Docker. We're going to have to get Michael Smyer to help me because he lives on Docker. He's shown me how it works a few times. No one ever used Proxmox for VMs. Good Lord. I'm going to look that up real quick. Proxmox, Proxmox. Proxmox Virtual Environment, Linux distro for server virtualization. Look at you, Jao Sosa. We're going to check that out just because you brought it up, brother. Yeah, Roberto, if you're asking questions about NetApp or whatever that is, I think you're probably very much ready for the Net Plus. And you got your test on Monday. Good luck. Good luck, my friend. Oh, here we go. Jonathan Torres, appreciate your videos. I use them for my Net Plus. Thinking to go Security Plus. We do not do CCNA. So, sorry, man. I'm a CompTIA guy. I love you, CompTIA. Can you do RDP in a home environment? Sure. Absolutely. There's better things. Good Lord. Scott Jernigan, we're going to add another one. Let's do a remote desktop kind of day. But I'm going to get you guys to not use regular remote desktop. There's better tools. Once you guys see tight VNC, you're going to have a hard time going back to Windows on that. Jenna Griffin. Hello, Jenna. Knifin, sounds like fun. I wonder which part sounds like fun. Roberto, trust me, you'll be ready for the Net Plus on Monday, okay? Just do it. You'll be fine. Who is this Michael Smyer? Michael Smyer works for me and has worked for me for a long time. Michael Smyer is our resident programming god. He's nerdy. He's like a super nerd. He's assembled from the parts of lesser nerds. He is the guy who thinks at the more interesting technical levels. I mean, everybody's got a different job at Total Seminars. Like Scott Jernigan is very artsy and a man of literature and great breadth of knowledge, and you know, he looks at the artistic side of technology. Dave Rush he's like my scrounger. Probably at least the one I'm most simpatico with is Dave, and get her done kind of an attitude. He's got a piece of equipment for everything. And Michael is the guy who, you know, understands that takes the technology often far deeper than anybody else wants to, but he can back it up and he's got it right. So it's always a respectful way. I would like to think that the way we all work together as a group really helps us make some of these amazing products. And I attribute it to those guys very, very much. Why are there different keys on NVMe? Do you mean why are there different notches on an M.2 drive? Well, because the idea is that they want to make sure you're not plugging a SATA-only drive into an NVMe-only M.2 slot. I think that's where, like, you know. TS tight VNC is so simple, easy to use, you're going to laugh. You're going to be like, that's it? Jao, well, we're going to be checking out, Jao, because of you, I'm going to be checking out Proxmox. Knowing Michael Smyer, by wacky coincidence, if you take my last name, Meyers, and you take the S off the end and put it in the front, that's how you spell Michael Smyer for the most part. Poop. Hello, Poop. Poop. Mike, one question. If I want to get into IT career field, what would be a great addition to my resume other than the obvious certifications? AWS long-term. Get a job, Poop. Get off the pot. Get a job. I don't know how old you are. I don't know what's going on in your life, but get a job. You know, you don't need any certifications to get a job at Best Buy. You don't need any certifications to get a job as a sales dude at Micro Center or Fry's or whatever it is that's interesting in your life. And you use those so you have some kind of income coming in, and at least you're touching technology, and then that's where you pursue your certifications. Using CompTIA certifications as a tool to get you into the cloud is not necessarily a bad idea. I'd look at probably A+ and Net+. I wouldn't even necessarily go into Security Plus because You'll get a lot of security once you get into the cloud certifications, but go for it. Get a job, man. Okay, Mr. Nowalki, does RAID make sense when using M.2 devices or SSD? Absolutely. In fact, they have RAID controllers now where you can bunch of M.2 connections on them. Plunk, 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 plunk. So if you're using M.2, you're using SSD, right? And yeah, just because we're using SSD, it doesn't mean that we still don't want redundancy and speed. Homer, thanks for, now I know what NetApp is. I'll have to look into it. But sorry, brother, that I wasn't able to help you immediately on that. Hey, Roberto, before you go away, man, don't panic. The number one reason people fail CompTIA exams is they get test anxiety, all right? So you need to be cool, fool. You got to be just mellow, all right? And if your test is on Monday, I would stop studying by noon on Sunday and just take it easy Sunday afternoon, do a little gaming, you know, ride your bike, have a decent dinner, you know, make sure you got your, you know where you're going, make sure there's gas in the car, you know, all these little stupid things that get people in trouble, and just be mellow. It's the number one reason people fail A+ exams. You know what the number two reason is? Because people know too much. Especially like really experienced techs, they'll take the A+ and they're, well, you know, 2 plus 2 can equal 5 for extremely large values of 2. And it's like, well, you know, don't do that. The A+ exam, Net Plus exam, and to a lesser extent, Security Plus exam are written for like an 18, 19-year-old person with roughly an 8th grade reading level. So be mellow and, you know, take it easy. I got a whole chapter in my books that talks about, you know, what do you got to do to get your psyche in the right place. Homer 1075, you sound like an old tech, dude. What are you hanging out with us babies for? Soaring Eagle, I have a question, Mike. I do not know what this is not. I do know that this is not a topic pertaining to today's live Q&A. I don't care. What do you ask a question? Do the PBQ last? The PBQ. What's PBQ? PBQ. Do we all know what this is, Scott? And I'm the only person who doesn't? PBQ is a measure of radiation. Please be quiet. Sorry, brother. Don't know. Oh my God, guys, we have a competition. We have a competition. We're giving stuff away. Okay, today I am going to give away a copy of either my A+, Net Plus, or Security Plus book, whatever you want. And then number two, I'm going to be giving away another $25 gift certificate to GameStop, and you can get yourself stuff, okay? So here is how we're going to do this. You guys ready? Here's how we're going to do this. You have to guess Scott Jernigan's birthday, including the year. So I need it in month / day / might as well do 2 digits. We all know it's 19. So I need you to write down right now. We got to do it right now, guys. You have to write down the month, the day, and the year, 2 digit, 2 digit, 2 digit, use slashes or dashes. I'm not going to care about that. I just want to be able to read it. No, Brandon Swenson, the blue book is the first edition. But guys, we have to do this right now. So I need you to start typing in the dates. Virginia, you failed? Oh, we need to talk about that. I'm sorry. Guys, start writing down dates. We are giving away. You'll have a choice for one winner. Either the A+ or the Net Plus or the Security Plus book. And then for the other winner, a $25 gift certificate from GameStop/ThinkGeek.com. So guys, I need you to start typing in right now. Virginia, I'm so sorry you failed an exam. Virginia, here, while everybody else is doing this is, well, it's for anybody, but it's for my buddy Virginia, because I know that feeling when you don't pass an exam. So I hate that. So Virginia, here's my contact information. Please send me an email. Virginia, send me an email. Tell me what happened. Let's talk about this. and I'll be able to help you out. And we can talk about getting rescheduled for your exam, whatever you need. I am here to help you. Okay? All right, guys. Just a couple, the dates. This is the date that Scott Jernigan was born, Soaring Eagle. Going to give it a couple more. All right, going once. Greg Davis. Terrence Tech. All right. All right, everybody. All right, so there it is. All right, so we're closed. We're closed. Stop typing stuff in. Did anybody type it in twice? I'm going to get so crabby. Tolowit, what are you doing, brother? Homer, what's you guys? Stop. Okay. Scott Jernigan is going to tally this up, and he will announce the winner in about 4 or 5 minutes, okay? And so we'll see, and Scott he's going to take a minute and calculate all this up, and we'll get it figured out. All right. So what do we do? So got some, Virginia, I'm not sweet. I just hate being alone when I fail an exam. You know, I fail like 1/3 of all my certification exams, mainly because I don't study enough. I just go in cold, and it's probably not a good idea. You have that sense of failure, and you're like, eh. Look, certification exams aren't the SAT. You fail exams. I mean, it stinks, and it costs money and time. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's not the end of the world, right? I'll help you out. And guys, anytime anybody has a problem, you failed an exam. If you passed an exam, I always want to hear that. That's great. And you ever need help, please, you got my email address. Give me a contact directly. Odds are good you'll get my cell phone number. We'll talk on the phone and work through this stuff. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, PBQ stands for performance-based questions. Oh, man, you guys and your acronyms. If Scott Jernigan writes it down and remembers, and he's probably not because he's busy trying to figure out who won the contest, we can do performance-based questions. We can talk about them. I got 3 minutes. It's not really enough time. All right, let me grab Soaring Eagle here. We just got a couple more. We just got 2 more minutes. All right, so yeah, distractions are a problem, Virginia. All right, Soaring Eagle. So my question, would using malware bytes in conjunction with Kaspersky be the cause of my performance issue? Oh, I guarantee it is. Especially the Kaspersky Total Security Suite has a bunch of features. Man, Soaring Eagle, I wish you were here last week when we did our anti-malware thing. You would have loved that conversation, dude. But yeah, I mean, that's always a big issue with those type of things. Yeah, the Borough of Manhattan Community College. It's very, very good to see you guys here. All right, Virginia, yeah, there's all kinds of issues here. I can see all that stuff. All right, well, guys, it looks like we're wrapping it up. We're going to wait here for a minute because Scott Jernigan is calculating the winner. And Ali Tiba just logged in. And we're going to run here until Scott posts the winners. Ali Tiba just joined. Thank you for this. My question is, can I get all the needed training for a cybersecurity career online? I'll tell you what, Ali, you tell me what a cybersecurity career is. And this is the big challenge I have. Ali, you probably need to take the CompTIA Security Plus, if for no other reason that it will give you a very cold slap in the face about the breadth of what IT security is. And you know, people are like, so I want to get into cybersecurity. You need to know what cybersecurity is. And I think CompTIA does a really good job of giving you a taste of that through the Security Plus. In fact, don't even go for the certification. Just buy a book. Who writes a really good book on Security Plus? Oh yeah, me. And then see where you want to go with that. It's, you know, my first question to you, you've got my contact information, and the first question I'm going to go is, why do you want to get into cybersecurity? Why? And don't tell me because your brother said it might be a good idea. You get into cybersecurity because you've already been hacking stuff on your own and tearing stuff up and picking locks, and just because it's in your soul, it's in your being to do this kind of a thing. That's the secret. Paul Banbury watching from Jamaica. Hey, Mon. Hey, Paul, I've been to hell. For those of you guys who don't know, there's actually a place in Jamaica called Hell. All right, I'm going to put my contact information back up there since people are asking. There you go. The telephone number is a little hard to get to right now, guys, because for no other reason than it's the office number. Oh, wait, we got winners. Okay, so the winners are, who we have here? Scott Jernigan. I see that Mendy Pokora is second place, but who got first? Oh, Scott, are you doing the second place first kind of a thing? Oh, TS, Terribly Sexy, wins first place on this. Okay, so Terribly Sexy, you are going to win the book. Sorry, I guess we should have said that more clearly. First place is, you get a choice of the A+, Net Plus, or Security Plus book. TS, just contact me directly, or Kathy Yale, it doesn't matter who, and we'll get the book to you, or we'll have it shipped out to you. And then Medi Pokora for second place, we're going to send you a $25 gift certificate, and to get that, all we need is an email address, and we'll be in great shape. All right. Well, not a bad little Friday, I think. I had fun. I hope that you guys... Paul Banbury is a teacher. Paul Banbury, then you need to contact me. You got my email. Fun little Friday, good little competition. I'm glad we got to finish up RAID. I just totally couldn't remember what we were doing, even though I've been working on it all morning. So next Monday is going to be Mike's Firefox, and why does he run all these add-ons? And we will definitely do some virtualization next week. I don't know which day. I guarantee you we will also have another giveaway on a day other than Friday. We'll always give something away on Friday, but it won't be Monday. But like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll have a little giveaway there as well, just to keep you guys interested. You know, get you all hooked up. Well, okay, so until then, you guys have a superb weekend. And good luck with your studying or not studying and taking it easy. And this is your Uncle Mikey saying good night. Good night.